things are changing really fast in the EV world this past few years. If you think back just 5 years, think what it looked like and how many cars you could get. I mentioned that 2024, 2025 will see some really great changes in the EV world. Cars coming that are way more affordable, either smaller and cheaper or smaller and cheaper. And, taking us away from this more limited past that we've had. So, just a few years ago, you could buy a Nissan Leaf and, have a battery that will kind of bugger up quite quickly relative to a car that has a battery with proper cooling on it. And, especially in a hot climate, 70,000 kilometers in, I've seen way too many to count now, where the batteries are kind of just gone or you've lost 40% of the range. Even this morning, I literally saw one this morning. So if there's one thing that's becoming very, very obvious is that the horizon, which is full of cheap EVs and mid-priced EVs, is coming at us really fast. And that, for me, that's where the party is. We have big brands putting out cars, or will be putting them out soon, like the Renault 5 EV, the Citroen EC3, Renault Twingo, Volkswagen ID2, Tesla Model 2, which is not going to be called the Model 2, the Fiat 500e, which is still a really awesome car. That really is a $40,000 car, but they've just overpriced it massively. Mini Electric, that is also a really good car. Probably a bit too expensive, but really, really nice. I love the Mini Electric. The Vauxhall Corsa, the Cupra Born, the MG4, BYD Dolphin, Peugeot E208, which is also a bit too expensive, but really, really nice. And I think one of the best looking cars that you can buy today. And I kind of like the E208 and the BYD Dolphin. They look really similar to my eye. The BYD Seagull. That's the end goal for me. If we can just have cars like that available, it's done. We're fine. We just need to sell more electric cars that are cheap and small. So now, if there's one thing that we can be sure of, it's that the Seagull is almost definitely coming to other places around the world. That is happening, and I'm not sure where exactly. I don't know what countries and when. Very roughly in the next 2 or 3 years, but we now are getting a clear message that it is coming from BYD. But that's really exciting. So with the exception of the Tesla Model 3 or the Model Y, the car that I think has been talked about with as much excitement is the BYD Seagull. And tons and tons and tons of people commenting and asking about it in the comments and saying that they would get one and that they love it and they would just be really, really keen. There's just something about people that talk about the BYD Seagull and the types of comments that they write versus everyone else. People love the BYD Seagull. That, for me, is an indicator. So Wang Chuanfu, he's the founder and boss of BYD, said recently in China, and it was in Chinese, that BYD will not only grow internationally, but we are going to make sure that all of our EVs are available for people throughout the world, not just here in China. So when also he was asked about the BYD Seagull, he said that they have plans to export it from a new factory being built just to produce the Seagull for export, for the export market. He actually said that. And this is literally all I know. That's it. But that's just really awesome. So we don't know if they are going to be spending a certain amount of money and when, or if they're going to reuse a factory or something like that, or just petition one, or how many they plan to make and sell abroad, or whatever the prices are. I have no idea how they're going to do that. But the interview was in Chinese, like I said, and it had to be translated. So I don't know about all the other stuff that was around or the context, but that is what he said. It's about time that manufacturers started to get competitive, act properly competitive, not, rubbish competitive, and started selling cheaper EVs for people that don't want to spend 40,000 euros on a car just because it's electric, especially when buying a car like a Volkswagen comes with a bit of a rocky past, from being told that from admitting that they've lied to customers, for example, and having cars that keep breaking with electric problems. So they don't have that history in this last 10 or 20 years of their cars lasting hundreds of thousands of kilometers that I think people kind of expect now, or they want. If you have a Toyota, you'll know what I'm talking about. So they quite often have problems with electronics or need a repair that costs too much money. I think that's just, I've mentioned this over the last so many years, and basically people just mirror the comment back at me and say that they understand, they get it, and they've had all issues too. I literally talked again the other month with a chap who had a Volkswagen on his drive, and he said he couldn't put the car in four-wheel drive because it came up with a message saying that there was an electrical issue somewhere. It's little things like that. I mean, we're talking about a 7-year-old car. That doesn't make sense that should be like that. And, you know, that's a big red flag for me for a brand. And also probably Dieselgate. If you don't know what Dieselgate is, Google Dieselgate. So I know some people obviously will have a decent run with their Volkswagen. They're still nice cars and they're really good. But it's just definitely not what they're known for these days, quality and longevity. So even the German YouTube channel, DW, made an entire video talking about why Volkswagens have gotten so basically crap, I think was the word. And from what they used to be, if you remember the 80s and 90s, and Volkswagens used to be bulletproof. They used to be awesome, you know, and they're just not now. So if the price is right, then I would say you should definitely consider a car like a Volkswagen ID2. That's okay, because if it's cheap enough and it's for the right price and it's a good enough car, then that's good. I think people can stomach 25 grand rather than 50 grand in euros for a car for most people. And if it goes wrong, it's not 50 grand that's gone wrong or 40, it's 25,000 that's gone wrong. So, you know, it's likely that the repair would be cheaper or the parts would be a little bit more accessible because they'll be more plentiful on the used market. And I think if we don't get the cheap EV market going, the used car market will be in really crappy shape in 20 years' time. So I've put a lot of time into thinking about how this is going to go and where it will be in 20 years, and an 18-year-old in 20 years in 2043. What cars are they going to have, and are they going to be able to afford them? Is it going to be reasonable? What do you all think about that? Like that area of time, 2040. An 18, 20-year-old person wants to go get a used car in the US or Norway or Sweden or England or wherever. How do you think this is going to look for them? Because my concern is that if everyone goes out and buys Fiat, they'll all be broken and probably within the next 10 years. So there's just going to be a massive shortage of good quality cars. So this is why I kind of try and give props to Toyota and Honda, because they are actually fantastic cars. I know someone personally who drives a Honda Jazz, and it's got 5.5 or 600,000 kilometers on it. Original gearbox, original engine. Another friend of mine had a Toyota. He eventually decided to scrap it because it was literally just rusting through because he lived near the ocean. And that had, I think, over 600,000 kilometers on it. And that had the original engine and gearbox. And I think, yeah, I'm not sure what it was, Toyota Hiace or something like that. So, you know, that's a thing for me. What is the next Honda Jazz, Toyota Yaris, Toyota Camry of the EV world? Because if Honda and Toyota are late to the party, then what is it? You know, that's my big question, because I would like to buy one of those. You know, even though I just checked this morning and there is a BYD Atto 3 in beautiful white in Brisbane for sale, about 40,000 Aussie dollars. But yeah, I'm not too sure whether I'll be here much longer. So whether I'll just go back to Europe, like I've said, because I really love Europe. So they're getting cheaper. It is one of the videos I'll cover next in the next few videos. Is the used car market is starting to actually come through now. There are huge amounts of EVs I'm seeing that coming onto the market. So I'll try and make a bit of a graph and plot this for the next 12 months. But it's definitely happening. So someone bought a BYD Atto 3 earlier this year, drove it 30,000 kilometers, and then chucked it on for sale and loved it. And it's really, really good. That's one of the adverts I saw. Well, unless they're fibbing, which they could be. So I definitely think we should be considering cars that, like the Renaults and Peugeots more than we previously have anyway, when they were more petrol and diesels for the last 20 years, because they are making the jump to cheaper EVs. And I think we should show that, we need to check before buying one, though, if it does have liquid battery cooling using the AC. So there are two things for me. It has to have liquid cooling and use the AC. Liquid cooling is not good enough on its own. If it's just plumbed into like Tesla batteries and it doesn't use the AC to actually cool the battery. All it's doing is taking some of the heat down and bringing it down to ambient temperature. It's not cooling it down properly. So if it's a hot day and it's only using a fan over a radiator that uses liquid to pump around the batteries to waft out some of the heat energy, then it's not good enough. I don't think that's going to be cutting it in Kentucky, Texas, Britain in summer is like 30 degrees. East coast of Brisbane, all of Australia, sorry, Brisbane, or probably all of Australia, but it's really hot. It's really, really hot. And if you go into the city and park your EV on a bit of road, the road is literally a battery, and the heat it burns. The other day I was running across a car park barefoot because I forgot my flip-flops, or thongs, whatever you call them, and it was burning. I actually thought I could have blisters underneath my feet. It was that hot. And that heat just goes into your battery. It cooks them. I don't know if you really can get that if you live in a cold climate, just how intense it is. So that way, I think the battery has a really good chance of lasting years and years, not just 4 years or 7 years before it's lost 40%, or hundreds of thousands of kilometers of driving, and still have a comparable range to when it was new. If you haven't seen the video where I talk about the BYD Seagull specs, the full specs, then please watch that. It will be on the end screen in a minute, and there'll be 2 videos. Click on the one with the Seagull, and also I'll put it in the description for you. Please click the like button so that YouTube know that people are enjoying my videos, and subscribe for more daily videos about electric vehicle news from around the world. I'm Ben Alexander, and thank you for watching.